Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. We have returned after Scotland have done their best to do Hibs impressions whilst Hibs were away. Joined today, full house. We've got Liam, Ewan, and Craig. Liam, how was the break from Hibs?
I didn't love it, to be honest, mate. I said last week I wasn't really too keen on the scheduling of the break, and I found my Saturday, to be honest, not quite as full as it would have been without Hibs.
Aye, and Craig, ready to put heads through walls over the Scotland game, or were you kind of expecting those results anyway?
I was expecting the results. I was quite happy with the performances, to be fair. Some positives, some glaring negatives, which actually is very reminiscent of Hibs. So yeah, we'll move on, and I'm looking forward to the Saturday.
Ewan, you're the type of guy that even when Hibs aren't on, you've got like chocolate factories to be visiting and stuff. Did you get up to anything fun without Hibs?
I think I called it last weekend. It might be a Costco trip, but that ended up being Thursday night. But I tell you what, weekends with Hibs just end up being expensive, mate. Like, see the amount of shite that got bought for this house on Saturday. Like, genuinely, just getting like we were all over the place, like in Dunelms and B&M's and all that, and everything looks the same still, but the bank balance doesn't. So I cannot wait to be back at Easter Road in a safe zone, spending money on mere useless twats this weekend.
Hey. Well, just before we get talking about the Hibs action on the field, the big talk of the terrace as such, Ian Gordon has hit the press in multiple ways. I believe he's done at least three interviews off the top of my head. I don't know if I can count the Hibs TV interview as an interview because if it's a club-owned product, then it's probably not the hard-hitting questions that would be after. But open, honest interviews. Liam, come to you first for your take. One, happy the club's done it, and two, just your overall thoughts.
I can't remember what the context was, but I said, oh, maybe it was the Malky transfer window closing thing. I said, well done on them communicating, but also not so well done just for the communication itself. I kind of feel a wee bit like that with this one. Like it was honest. It was, as far as we know, at least honest. It did try and show a degree of transparency, although there were some very sort of woolly answers to some of the questions. But at least they're now communicating, and at least they're now communicating. And I totally understood his rationale as to why they haven't really communicated over the last 18 months. But I just found some of the answers to some of the questions to be a little bit lacking in substance at points.
You and yourself, is there any positives that you took from Ian Gordon going to the press?
I mean, it's always good to hear from like the ownership or the board or whoever it is, like, or maybe not always good to hear, but I think it's probably long overdue. And I would echo what Liam said there, but I just don't feel like I've listened to Sky Sports there for what, the best part of an hour and 20 minutes or something, Hibs TV for 10 minutes, read it in the evening news, and I'm not entirely sure that I'm any more understanding or any more beneficial for having taken in all that information, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, it just very non-committal on things like, okay, we've made mistakes, but go into detail on what they are and like what were the findings and what are you doing better, rather than just saying, we've changed the recruitment team back to what we had before they took over, basically. It's just not great.
And Craig, did you manage to do a better job of reading between the lines, or did you think it was also quite ominous as such?
No, it's got the same sort of opinion as the guys there. Like Liam says, fair play for doing it. I think that was something that it needed done. It's overdue. But there was just a sort of, it was like, oh yeah, sorry, we've done X, Y, and Z wrong, but without any real clarity about what's going to be getting done to actually improve the situation, other than just pumping money into to cover the mistakes that we've made in the past. That's kind of the main
Hmm.
point that I got off it.
That was
But
the main takeaway, Harry, like that the Gordon family have sort of fronted up and said that the overspend that is ongoing just now will be covered, but ultimately they're only going to be able to cover an overspend for so long as well. I'm sure they've not got infinite amount of money, and if we continue to get it wrong on the pitch, that pot's only going to increase. It's not going to decrease. Like it, it, yeah. Let's say, I suppose it is good to hear these things and to have the transparency, but it just felt like maybe there was more of an opportunity for a little bit more detail. But so I think I spoke right over Liam there as he wanted to come in.
no, no, you weren't speaking over me. I think it's admirable that they're going to cover the overspend, but I think Ultimately, it's as you say, it's their mistakes that have probably. I say they. I think the one thing I really noticeable through the whole interview is a lot of we's, not a lot of I's,
Hmm.
which seems to be a thing when Hibs communicate. There's a lot of we's, and I struggle with that a wee bit because actually I think part of being honest, just good leadership, is when you've got something wrong or when the club's got something wrong, is you take that accountability and say I made this mistake, not we. And I think you need to kind of just personalize stuff and front things up and take a little bit of the flack. To be honest, I think we've really lacked someone in a leadership role at the club unfortunately since Ron's passing, who's been prepared to do that, who's been prepared to take the flack. Ron did put himself out there quite a bit, I think. And prior to that, Leanne Dempster was always very good at that, as we spoke about last week, kind of fronting up when there was difficult conversations or difficult things to be fronted. Um, but having said all that, and I think this is where some people maybe get a little bit irked is there's been a lot of references both through the Mackay interview and through the Ian Gordon interview, the money the Gordons are putting in. But what I think quite often gets missed is a lot of the revenue that's generated by the football club. In fact, most of it is generated by supporters. Now, people clap back to that and say, well, the supporters don't have to spend money on supporting the football club. No, that's right. They choose to, right? But if every fan who puts in quite a lot of people put in a lot of money to follow this team home and away and through merchandising and through other initiatives, sponsorship, dare I say it, hospitality memberships, all those things, put money into the club for it to be in the position that it's in. So that most of the income that's generated is generated through fans and the things that fans contribute to the club. So whilst it's noble to put up the losses, I also think there is just something about, can we also just recognise the fans as well?
Yeah, I think the one point I'd maybe make, Harry, just with Liam saying about the lack of recognition, I do wonder, like obviously since Ron passed away, sorry, what, 18 months ago now, like I do think a lot of what he was talking about maybe was predated that, so it would maybe be difficult for him at that point to, this is I done. Like Ian, I feel like Ian Gordon's probably only fully taken over maybe since the start of last season, would you say? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and even there has obviously been mistakes in there, and I think I don't know. I think as a collective group, our frustrations probably don't even lie with him as much as what's went on maybe around him. Now, obviously, like I say, in the last 12 months, he has been charged with heading that up, but I think there's been people in positions of power that have made not necessarily bigger mistakes, but they've held up to their share of the blame as well. Like, God, I seen Steve Keen's name at the weekend over the weekend, and I was like, fucking hell! Like, remember, like you've just totally, I don't know about you just totally wiped that whole project idea, whatever the hell that was, for memory. Where how much do you reckon we spent on signing development players, and that must have been an expensive project that just got abandoned. And like the guy that was overseeing it was sort of, I think, did he get a manager job? But there was just, and then also Brian McDermott was here for a year, and that it whilst it's good to get the interview, it does you it almost makes it worse in your mind because you remember other stuff that maybe isn't right at the forefront. We're all thinking about recruitment and stuff, but it's like, God, remember this happened, remember that happened. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's everything marquee that they try and do seems to kind of flop. Like, remember the confidence and belief that they put in Vente, and obviously the fingers are still crossed that he goes away on loan and comes back next year and he kind of hits the ground running. But and then Mueller was kind of overhyped as well. I just feel that like when they put things into the press, they just like those are the main things that are flopping, and I think that's part of the reason why we get as frustrated with them as we do. Liam, I think you wanted to jump in there.
I just want to say, just because you mentioned Chris Mueller and I'd forgotten, otherwise you hadn't mentioned his name. I don't know about you, but I smelt a wee bit of a rat when he tried to pin the Chris Mueller signing on Jack Ross.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
He
I
maybe
suppose.
misspoke when he said it. I'm sorry, I just can't see Jack Ross sitting up with a bucket of popcorn and a Coke Zero watching the MLS on a Sunday night in his jammies at 2 o'clock in the morning. I just can't see it. Not
I
for me. Not for me.
It was interesting at that point because if you cast your mind back, like Jack Ross is obviously saying at the time, "This is what I need." Being a centre half and a striker
Set
maybe, and
half and a striker he
aye,
wanted, yeah.
and
Didn't need much. Didn't
and
need
and
11 players.
and from what he was said today, it was like Jack Ross led the recruitment at that time. So it was sort of which by the way, I don't actually think was true. I think Graham Maffey was still there, or maybe he just left. But it just like if the manager was in charge of the recruitment, if you like,
Mm.
and is desperately saying to the media that he needs a centre half and a striker. Now I know managers play these sort of games all the time. Why would he then choose to sign a player that can't come for 6 months?
Aye,
You know what I
aye.
mean? It just feels like there's holes in it. Like and again, look, he probably misspoke, and I've got to be honest. I don't think he came across as the most comfortable in the environment, especially in the Sky Sports one. But like he said, like they consulted with David Gray around whether Lewis Stevenson and Paul Hanlon were staying and stuff. Like I know he did kind of correct that, saying I think there was a conversation when the manager changed and stuff. But yeah, there was. If you wanted to really poke holes in it, I'm sure you could.
Oh, you definitely could. I'm interested in what you think, Craig and Harry. Do you what does the term manager-led recruitment mean to you?
Means the manager goes out and picks the players that he wants, and tells whoever it is that goes out and gets these guys, this is the guys I want. I would imagine that's how I would view that.
I see manager-led recruitment as when you're calling your manager a manager and not a first team coach. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is David Gray not the first team coach at Hibernian?
Head
I
coach.
believe
Um,
so. Head coach or
head
whatever.
head coach. So for me, if you've brought someone in as a head coach, what the fuck are they doing? Picking players out for you. That's not their job.
Well, I mean,
Right.
if you wanted to come on to that as well, though, like if you even just look at the sort of unveiling interviews and stuff of all the players this summer, some of them it's been because David Gray wanted them, some of them Malcolm Mackay identified. God, some of them we've had before. Like it's the
So some of them have also been benefits of the employee referral scheme. So at my work, you used to do an employee referral scheme. You
get
got
150 quid.
750 quid if you referred an employee. We've got Nicky Cadden, we've got Triantis, we've got Kukurevich. Who else have we got? Oh, Senior Hoylett, who just happened to be pals with the goalie coach. I'm not being
Hey,
funny, but we've
Malcolm
employed
McPherson paid himself refer a friend.
for Malky. I mean, I do think the whole thing is a bit. Especially today when they were bigging up how they've beefed up. And I think it's a positive that they've beefed up the recruitment department because I think it sounds like it was scaled back massively after COVID. So I think it's good that we've got three new analysts and two new scouts, or the other way around, two new analysts
Two
and
new
three new
analysts and
scouts,
three new
and
scouts.
obviously created a new role under David Marshall. So that's six extra headcount, which for a club the size of Hibs, six extra FTE is massive in terms of your sort of non-footballing staff, your non-footballing department. That's a lot of extra hands on deck. But you'd have to say, based on the business of the summer window, they're not exactly having to earn their corn because we've ultimately just signed players who've either played in league, played for us previously, are twins of one of our
Uh,
current first team players, or guys that,
yeah, I don't know if it
played down
was.
south who I'd expect us to have knowledge of guys like Ekpiteta and O'Hara to a massive extent.
I don't know if it was on the pod or if it was just when we were chatting on like in the group chat. That I think I said it. Now it was definitely a couple of weeks before the window, but all the signings just felt like players we could have signed anyway without the Black Knight investment.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
I called O'Hara O'Hara.
Did he? I thought.
Get
I
there,
was
high
what it was,
fives.
mate. I wasn't actually referring to Warren O'Hara. I was referring to Mark O'Hara because
Yeah.
in my dream
Right.
last night we'd signed Mark O'Hara, and oh geez, dreams had come true.
That's a shocker, Liam.
I'm not gonna lie, is I thought I'd froze or something there. Hey, if you're not watched on YouTube, you should go and just watch for that second. Harry's face just lit
I
up.
literally see it. I was like, he said it, wasn't he? So I messaged him quickly just to
I'm
make sure, and he was like, shut up.
I'm gonna have to go and bless myself after this podcast. Say a few Hail Marys.
Oh dear.
But in seriousness, on the manager-led recruitment, last thing I'll say to it myself, like it's again, it's not me hammering him, but David Gray so far, from what I'm aware, hasn't had experience of identifying players to bring to the club, and I don't think as part of his role before becoming first team or head coach, I don't think that's part of what he would have done. I know that he can likely look at a player and think, yeah, he'd be good for the team. But it would be very strange for me to have him leading recruitment, especially if you're bringing in a director of football and you've already got an established scouting department around him. Obviously, he can
Aye.
be like, I want this position. And if by manager-led recruitment, it's speaking to David Gray and being like, what position do you want us to fill? And then them going out and doing it. That's technically manager-led, but yeah, it does strike as a
I
bit
think
strange.
is the number one thing, I think, regardless of what the manager has to always have the final say. ultimately. If it comes down to a straight toss of a coin between two players, then the manager, head coach, whoever who's going to be working with them, who's going to be picking the team, has to be the one that says, like, that's the one that we're going for. In my opinion, if everything was even in the world, so like I think there was a murmur that we could have got a guy from, was it Laurie on loan, like on deadline
Yeah.
day, but David Gray said he would rather have Triantis, like, so like if it's like if they two deals are sort of 50-50 and in terms of cost and everything to the club, and there were two loans, there's no sort of sell on potential or anything like that, then I think at that point it's absolutely sort of essential that the head coach would be the one that says that's the one we go for.
I think they've said that, to be fair, in the media, Malcolm Mackay, and that they've kind of come out and outlined that is what their process is, that the manager will sort of outline a position and maybe a profile that he wants for that position, and then they'll go out and bring back a list of 3 or 4 players, and then he'll pick which one he wants.
I'm curious though, how does it see another sport that you guys follow, the gridiron, which I
Hmm.
absolutely detest having to talk about? How does recruitment work in that? So you've got presumably a director of American football, is that the right term? General
So
manager,
yeah, you've got a
Yeah,
general
right.
manager, and
and
essentially,
they
um,
draft all
you,
the players and do all
yeah,
the
so
trades.
essentially within the NFL, so I won't go too technical to not bore people, but you get 53 players in an active roster, and then you get 18 players on the practice squad. So essentially, that's like your reserve team and then your active team.
Fucking
And
someone,
each team,
someone tell Steve Keen, he'd
hey,
love that, man. The
and
development team.
each team has a cap space, so essentially you can't just hoard all the best teams in the league unless people want to take massive cuts. And then the only way you can trade players, so with the draft every year, you draft players onto your team, and then if you want to get a player from a different team that's already established in the league, you can trade players and draft capital to get them. This all sounds really confusing, but I love it.
I
I
think
think
Liam was
it's
You've
just
fun.
absolutely
asking who was
lost
in
me there.
charge yet, like.
But in short, the general manager is the person who will make those moves. Like all the general managers will have the other GMs on the buzzer being like, we want this player. What do you need to make it happen? So yeah, it makes sense. And plus, that strategy is so much better. There's so much parity in American sports in comparison to football. And football really could do with taking some lessons, in my humble
Shame it's
opinion.
eye bleeding to watch, though.
I want to apologise to all 7 of our listeners who we just lost during that. We will be back with some more content.
Well, speaking
Sorry,
of
Harry.
numbers, right? Speaking of numbers,
Sorry, Harry.
look, I think Ian Gordon even mentioned it today. Around the number of players that are out of contract next summer. We are left with 14.
Sorry, Ian, we're live for 14.
Sorry. Again, if you're listening on Spotify, Harry's just come off camera there for a minute and came back rocking in his chair holding an American football. Yeah, no, we're left with 14 first team players under contract for next summer now. It has been a talking point between Malcolm Mackay and Enoch Gordon's interviews today around, having a clean slate and stuff. But how my worry would be that we would just be left in the same position this time next year on the back of signing 10 players because, well, you're going to need to if you don't intend on giving any out of contract players new deals. I'll quickly run through the 14 that are under contract, which is Smith, the backup goalkeeper, Ekpiteta, Ohura, Hora, O'Hora, Obita, is it Iredale or Ardale?
Iredale, I think.
Iredale, Megwa, Newell, Levitt, Mariah Welsh, Campbell, Nicky Cadden, Rudy Molotnikov, Kieran Bowie or Bowie, and Ellie Yuan.
You're missing Jair Tavares there, mate. He's still under
Well,
contract
yeah,
next
so I was
season.
looking at first team players that are like listed available this season. My apologies. So
And
you've
Alan
also
Del
got,
Ferrier.
oh, for fuck's sake, I said first team.
Alan
But
Del
also,
Ferrier's still got about another 5 years of that contract to run. We only just gave him it last
and
season.
then there's Murray Johnston and Jacob McIntyre as well. So, Liam, I know you raised the point earlier, like at what stage then do you become this settled team that's only bringing in 3 or 4 players when okay, you're getting rid of a lot of dead wood and a couple of first team players on the assumption they don't get new deals. Like you're going to have another summer of massive turnover, potentially even more than this year.
I want to make Malky Mackay a bet when he said in that interview that he would want to get to a place where we only sign 1 or 2 players every summer. I want to make him a bet that he will never ever sign anything less than 3 players every summer is Hibs. It just simply doesn't happen. You don't see teams in this country sign any more than, I mean, even like 11's a lot, but it's not actually like a massive amount in the context of what the business other teams do. Having said that, the stat that was really galling that I heard at the weekend was that we used more first team players than any other team in the league last season. I think
Yeah.
37 first team
37.
players, and Celtic were second with 35. And bear in mind that Celtic didn't actually really use 35 players. They just chucked some rotation youngsters in when the season was done. They would have actually used way less than that in terms of first team players. 37 first team players for a club our size. I mean, that's just
I would
it's
love
completely
us
unsustainable.
to like actually just try and list them. I,
I
I,
would
I, I
maybe do
honestly
that
think
as a
we'd miss a
special.
couple. I think we would definitely miss a couple there. Anyway, anyway, Harry, that was the
You'd
interviews.
forget Ruben McAllister.
That must be including League Cup as well, right?
I
Sure.
think I heard it as
Well, we
league
could.
games.
Fucking.
I was just going to say
I
it'd be
think I heard it as league
competitive.
games. I might be wrong. I might be wrong. But either
Shocking
way, it's
either way.
mental. League games or not, it's mental. You're on mute,
Never
Harry.
you muted me.
I'm not anymore, motherfuckers. Yeah, no, that's incredibly scary. And I hope that we don't have that many this year. And yet, three signings a season, fuck your hell, that's nonsense.
No
Anyway,
realistic.
No, he said one or two.
one or
I mean,
two.
the Celtic signed this summer window.
He said,
And they
That's a
ended up
perfect
with like
example.
five,
They
I
won
think.
the league, and
uh,
it's just unrealistic.
Maybe he's trying to say one or two like actual break into the first team regular, and it's just
It
misphrased or
really doesn't
misquoted.
matter.
But
It's wrong. But
aye,
do
yeah,
you know what I would just say is, do you know what? It wouldn't go down well with the fan base either. Because you know what you do every January transfer window? You want us to get our business done early. See, last January, we got our business done that early with my lead and stuff. But see, by about the 15th of January, I was fucking itching, needing another signing. You know, like, I know it's so stupid. That is just the mindset
I
of a
know.
fan, but it would never go down. Regardless, it would never, and it's not sustainable at this level. You
can I
hand
just
out
throw
one
it
years
there?
and 2 year deals.
Who was responsible for my leader coming to the club? Because whoever that was, get them in charge of recruitment. Because that was a class signing, and that I'd happily take him that caliber of player on loan every single time.
Brian McDermott? I don't know.
Bring
Ian
him
Previously,
home.
Gordon
well,
scouted him
Scott,
45,000 times.
Scott Burns said he didn't want him, eh?
Who didn't they?
I'm sure Scott Burns said Montgomery didn't want him to start with, and then he changed his tune saying he did want him, and but he took up all the budget or something, so there was no budget to sign players, and there was going to be no budget to sign players this summer because we'd spent all the money on the loan players in January, and it was. But I mean,
Scott Burns is a sausage. Oh mine.
And speaking of sausages, because you know I love a segue. Ewan, bring it up. You've got four sausages on your screen in front of you who had some very terrible early predictions. Just running through it, as you can see, we had a minimum of sixth where we'd finish in the table. And I'm not going to go through all of them because we can go through them as we fill them in again. But Craig, come to you first. Are we expecting a lot of changes, my friend?
Yeah, there's going to be a few changes for me, unsurprisingly.
Aye.
A few of them went out on loan, and I'd expect the boys to make a few changes as well.
Aye. And Liam, thoughts before we crack on to this?
I don't know what you and Ewan were smoking when you just thought we were going to finish fourth in August, to be
mate,
quite
I had
honest. Like,
fourth and winning the Scottish Cup, and I tell you what, they're not
uh,
changing.
uh, good luck to you, is all I'll say.
That
Aye.
delusion comment boy is going to be absolutely foaming at the mouth right now.
Aye, you will be.
Aye. And fair play to Liam for putting his mate O'Hara in twice. Sorry, I couldn't resist last time. But seriously, I'll jump in. I refuse to accept another year without Europe. I don't. Will we do it? Who knows? Will I predict less than Europe? Absolutely not. Fifth, you and type it in.
Fifth
Yes.
place.
Harry, you do realise that there's a chance that we could finish fifth and not get Europe?
And in that case, I cry, and I don't really have another option, Liam. So thank you for that. Speaking of which, what's your prediction?
I'm going to downgrade us as well. I'm going to take us from sixth to seventh based on our early season form, which would still be an improvement of one league placing from two of the previous three seasons. So maybe it's not all doom and gloom.
Aye. Greg, European football beckons or nah?
I'm staying fifth, staying fifth. I'm a bit surprised that you guys have downgraded, to be honest. I think the squad got better. So since
Well, that
the
makes
since the
maybe
first
one of us.
predictions.
Ewan,
I am in total agreement with Mr. McCurdy there. I would say the squad is better now than it was when we recorded these first predictions. So, and also Harry, you told us the mere changes makes us like bigger losers. So I'll probably just stick with everyone and hope for the best.
There is not a
Nice.
chance in hell we're finishing fourth this season. Not
Liam,
honestly, not a chance in hell.
Liam,
Aye,
I'm just going to refer you to our Player of the Year. Sorry, our for Harry, or you know, our most improved for you. So let's wait and see, shall we?
oh aye, good shout.
Aye. All right. Well, Ewan, obviously we were all correct, I think, on the League Cup, but talk to me about the Scottish Cup. How do you think that's going to go?
Aye, so when I was putting together this glamorous Excel sheet that I'm sure is coming across fantastically well on everyone's lovely like big TVs, there was no need to do the League Cup because we all predicted we'd lose at Celtic and we did. I boldly predicted that we would win the Scottish Cup based on the fact I predict we'll win a cup every year, and the League Cup was a write-off. And I'm going to stick by it. I'm going to say we're going to win the Scottish Cup. And you know, we're all going to be panicking next summer, right? Because all these players that are out of contract are going to have a fucking blinder and they're all going to fuck off for nothing and we're going to be left with nothing. But it's going to be a good time. Delusion,
Aye.
mate.
Thank you, Ewan, for that. Um, Liam, Craig, either of you want to change yours?
Nah,
No, I'm going to upgrade to winners just because I've changed my tune on that a wee bit. I think there's no point in predicting final if you're not going to predict winners. So I'll say winner.
Love that for you, Craig. Me and you can be pals. These other two are arseholes.
Absolute happy clapper
Well,
HSC.
you ken what? I'm going to predict that we get Celtic away in the first round, and I'm going to upgrade to winners because we're tapping them out more than the Hibs getting there. Fucking hell, it's terrible.
It's a
Um,
sham.
And also, just so we're not just doing it one by one because that get a bit boring. Let's take them two at a time. So we'll do top scorer and most carded in the winner. All right, top scorer. I've got a slight problem because he's no longer at the club. Will he finish with the most goals of any Hibs player contracted through to next season? Perhaps. Will I choose him? Absolutely not. Because I'm not. Liam, what's the verdict on Kieran's second name?
I'm all for Bowie, to be honest. I
Bowie.
completely disagree with Dave Graham on pretty much
Okay.
everything, and the
It is
pronunciation
Bowie,
of that
no?
surname, it is. It's Dave Graham just try to be different, I think, and
All right.
unique.
Well, on that note, I'm going to go for Kieran Bowie as my top scorer. And you know what? I'm going to give you a number. I think he gets 9. Unfortunately, I don't think we get many double figures this year, if any. So I'm going to say 9 goals for
He
Mr.
does spell
Kieran.
his name wrong like that, eh?
Yes,
Yes,
correct.
correct.
You
And
wrong.
then for my most carded, I'm going to say he'll get 6, and I'm going to stick with Jonio, Big Joe. He's going to be most carded. He's going to step up as captain and just start kicking fuck at everybody because why not?
Hmm.
Liam, talk to me. First of all,
Well,
break down the thinking of your original top scorer because the obviously you missed that episode and the fans were desperate to hear.
I just felt like he was going to, well, quite clearly, I was taken by a whole wave of PR around him, mainly from David Gray at the beginning of the season. And I think I just got a wee bit swept up in that. And what you're going to notice with this predictions is I'm going to try my hardest not to get swept up in things and just go with the really pragmatic options so I
Hmm.
can be right at the end of the season. So my mate Lee, who you all know, predicted that Kukurevich would get 25 goals in our group chat when he signed, and he's been ridiculed for it a wee bit, and I think it's quite harsh ridiculing him. But I'm not going to pick him purely because I don't want to have to see Ewan
I'm
try and
so
spell his
glad I was
name.
only going to type out Mike
So
Cola.
I am going to do the absolute shite baggiest of shite bag get outs and just go with none other than Kieran Bowie.
Oh,
Ooh.
It's got to be in it. He's gonna get, I think, like Harry, I think he'll get 8 or 9. Don't think it'll be a runaway top goal scorer.
and are you sticking with most carded, or do you not think Mr.
I don't think
Mariah
Mariah
Welsh will
Welsh going
play
to play
enough?
enough. I'm going to have to go for Nectarios Triantis.
Don't mind it.
If you could just spell it Nectarios, please.
No, I'm okay, thank you. Harry, are you still hosting, or are you just sitting there in silence, or what?
Can Craig not read his
Oh,
own name,
I'll,
Ewan?
I'll,
Is,
I'll, I'll
is, is
just
Craig not
take over
possible at
from
doing
here.
that? Fuck you. Sorry, Craig, on you go.
I'm aligned with the boys. I'm saying Kieran Bowie. I think it's the very obvious option there. So yeah, stick with Kieran Bowie. I actually think he'll get more than 9. To be honest, I think he's going to hit somewhere between 10 and 15. It's quite a wide range, but I'll say that. Junior definitely. He's going to play the most games probably out of the midfielders. So he's the captain, so I think he'll be the guy that gets booked most. Him or Kwon, but I'll stay with Joe.
Mine's are remaining the same. Martin Boyle, top goal scorer. He's got a head start on everyone after his restart pad and League Cup campaign. And I do think he will still probably play enough minutes to justify that. I think he'll probably hit double figures across all competitions, which might well be enough. And Lewis Miller, I think, will be the most carded. I think we're all in agreement that he's got a red card coming up soon for just being a general bit of a prick. And I think that might continue throughout the
Can I
season.
just call you out, Ewan? I think the League Cup stat pad is a wee bit of a bullshit move from yourself there, to be
I
honest.
agree. I'm actually going to write a petition into the SFA to say, or the SPFL, whoever it is, need to write to say that goals should be wiped after League Cup group stages.
Yeah,
Because I think it just makes their ratios look way better now. I remember that season with Simon Murray got
I was going
like
to say Simon Murray got
five or
moved
six in
this
the
year
group
on it.
stages and then didn't score again for about
Simon
6
Murray
months.
got his
And
move
was
to
like,
Ross County got six figures. Some for Simon Murray in the summer because he would have done in the group stages
for
last year.
scoring against a
He'll
bunch
be
of
playing
boys
for
who
Barca at this rate with
just
the League Cup stats.
just come back for 2 weeks all inclusive in Magaluf and you're fucking scoring against them and you're like, way
Look, I don't
plenty.
make the rules. I don't make the rules. We made it clear that it was all competitions and the goals are the goals. Get oranges. Liam said he was being pragmatic. The moment I did it, you have all went for the low hanging fruit. I still trust in Martin Boyle. There's some life in the old dog yet.
And that
Typical.
is based off nothing apart from spite against me saying you're a shite bag if you change your answer. But speaking of changed answers, I think Liam and Craig will not. I reckon me and you and Will are we all in agreement that Rudy Molotnikov is the standout young player of the year. I don't really see many other options at the moment. Are you all in agreement?
Is Big Mildog still able to fit into that category, given
He
he's
is indeed.
23?
We caveated it at the start of the season around when they were turning a specific age, and he made it by a couple of days. I'm sure.
Fucking hell.
Aye.
Well, for my
By the way, I'm not agreeing with you, Harry. My young player of the year is Mr.
Senior Hoylett.
Chiantes.
I I think that's a bit. I think that's just to be different. So fair play, Ewan. If you want to be different, you do that. Yeah, no. For my take, I just think Rudy Molotnikov. I think he's done everything right so far that he could have done when coming into the team. I think that he's going to be used. I'm hoping that with the more senior players when they get fit, I think that his time will be used a bit more effectively. I don't think that he's going to be the starter every single week, but I don't think he should be. But I think he'll benefit when the likes of Hoylett can rotate with him. Is essentially what I'm trying to say.
So you're
Uh,
saying that a player that's probably going to play most week in, week out is just being different, but you're picking someone that's probably going to play 50% of the minutes.
I don't get what your point is.
You're just slagging off my pick. I'm going for a 20-year-old that's going to play every week.
Aye, but you went for a loan signing. That's pish. Craig, Rudy Molotnikov is a wee baller. We're excited for him, aren't we?
He's quality, mate. It's definitely. I don't think Ewan's pick's that bad, to be fair.
I don't think
Thank
it's
you,
bad.
Craig.
I just wouldn't see him as I don't know. I think young player
Look,
of the
boys,
year in
look,
my head.
just
Like,
let Harry
listen,
have,
listen.
just let Harry have his minute because
Yeah.
weekend was coming up in a couple of minutes for him
Okay,
if he
anyway.
sticks by it.
Right.
So
I was say, just be grateful you never chose Junior Hoylett on the basis that he sounds like he's got a young name for young player of the year. Like you know his caveats that are required just to get something that fits into the
fucking
category.
caveats, Liam. Weekend was coming up here.
Aye, all right. Well, there's been a few arguments, and for me, I think Young Player of the Year, in theory, should be. I just think it's nice to pick a player that's actually at the club. That's just in my head. But all right, moving on to signing of the season. Big Marv, I love you, mate, but I don't think you're going to get my pick for that. I'm going to stick with Mr. Bowie. I'm going to put Kieran Bowie in there as well. I think if you're going to be the top scorer, you're probably going to be the up there with Player of the Year, but definitely signing of the season.
I
Grim
think
times when a guy gets player of the year based on scoring 9 goals.
it's probably
End of the
worth
season so far.
it's probably worth highlighting that when we did record this the first time, the only signings that were made were the two goalkeepers and the two centre halves. I think that's right. It was definitely four signings. I think it was Smith.
Now you're spot on it.
Aye. Yeah. So you're changing from Big Marv Harry to Kieran Bowie or Bowie. Oh my God!
Liam, you
just
jump in there.
frazzled.
He's struggling with names.
I'm just going to
Liam,
stick with O'Hora. I think that aligns with finishing seventh, to be honest. I think if you finish seventh, I think it's very plausible that a defender, particularly a centre back, gets player of the year.
Ewan will
Or
jump to
sign
you
of the
this
season,
time.
sorry.
What are we on? Signing of the season. Yeah, I have aligned with you here, Harry, and I have went with our young option up top and Mr. Kieran Bowie.
Right, Craig, talk to me. Give me your signing of the season and most improved.
Signing season, I'm going a bit different. I'm definitely going to dip into the whole getting swept up in the emotion of a one each draw at Kilmarnock. And I'm going to say Triantis for signing season because I think he'll be the most important addition to the side in the defensive mid. And I don't necessarily think him on his own will be the best player, but I think it's going to be the signing season due to how important he'll be. But that is absolutely getting swept up in the hype of him playing well one game and skinning everybody and hitting the bar. Most improved, I'm going to explain my reasoning. I'm going to stick with this. This caused major arguments, this category in the group chat, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say Jordan Obita. Now, for all the listeners out there that are punching the screen right now, because he was player of the year last year, my head is, in my head, I worked this out as from the first time we done our predictions 4 weeks ago to now, he's been absolutely stinking. And I think he'll improve majorly from now until the end of the season. And that's why, on the basis of the interim period of us doing the first predictions and now, I think he will be the most improved. That's my reasoning behind it. I'm sure that's going to cause some problems.
Right, cool. Liam.
Well, I could, in the same way that Craig's caveated like fuck to put Jordan Obita in there, I could just caveat like fuck and say Dylan Vente on the basis that he might go and pull up trees at PEC Zvola. But I don't think that'll be the case. So I think I'm gonna. Well, it might be the case, but it's not going to be enough to win him most improved. So I think my most improved is going to be the aforementioned Nectar Triantis.
Oh, I'm really glad you sent me yours over beforehand, Liam, because I don't think you've stuck with fucking one of them.
I actually forgot that I'd redone it, to be honest. I'm just going off vibes. Despite saying I wouldn't get swept up, I am just purely going off vibes here.
Well, I am coming in next because I want us to finish on Harry's fucking stinking take here. And I am also going for Nectar Chant. Someone that Harry seemed to have issue with when I picked him for most improved, even though he literally was a Hibs player last season, which is a lovely transition, Harry, into who exactly you think is going to be your most improved player.
All right. So I'll say what I want to say, and then you guys can jump in. That seems like a fair thing to do here. So essentially, all right. Thank you for typing before I even had the chance to
Well,
say
it's
anything.
just in case you change your mind, I want all the viewers
No,
to
no,
at
no,
least
no, no.
know
Listen,
what you've committed
listen.
to.
So essentially, let me break this down. At the moment, so at the end of the season, as I've said to the guys, we're no. If we look back on this, we're not going to be like, here's our like. It's a season prediction. So for Craig's season prediction, our player of the season last season is going to be our most improved player. So in theory, he's going to have a fucking unbelievable season and probably be the SPFL player of the year because that's the only thing that makes sense. And then
The
for most
only thing.
improved, Nectar Triantis was fine last season. So if he's going to be our most improved player, then there's probably not going to be that much level of improvement. For me, most improved player is about a player that you have low expectations for going into the season, and they improve so much you think, oh, they were decent to have around. I'm glad that we had them. So I think Josh Campbell, as you had predicted at the start of the season, could have been the player that last year rotation option end of the year. He's one of our star players. For me, I'm not going to say Dylan Vente because I don't think he's going to feature much. So the reason I've put Junior Hoylett is he's signed for the club, and I think he's kind of in the same bracket as Adam Lafondra. I'm like, all right, he's signed. Like he might do something, he might be great, might not. Like I'm not really going to be arsed. But by the end of the year, just so I can be different, just so I could say something fun, I'm going to predict that Junior Hoylett is going to leave, and we're going to be like, yeah, he was class, or might stay, and we'll be like, here, he was class. So that's what my logic was for most improved. Essentially, it's kind of similar to Craig's Obita, as in he's at the moment, and I think he's going to go way.
So
by
your
the end of the
most
I think
season.
that's worse
improved
than mine.
player, your most improved Hibs player this season has never kicked a ball for Hibs before.
So, but on that one, like I don't understand how you can't improve. So, is your expectation sky high for Hoylett? So Hoylett can't improve from where he's at the moment. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he absolutely must improve because he's zero record to show so far.
Thank you, Liam. Good point. I agree.
But it could get worse.
But so could Nectar Triantis, and so could Jordan Abita.
No, but listen, Harry, you're having a pop at me for picking somebody who actually played at the club last year. and saying, "Oh,
But
you can't base
he
it
was
on
player
last
of the year.
season." So how can you?
But
What are you basing it off
No, no,
of?
no.
he could
That's no.
physically be
I'm
better than
saying.
last year.
Aye, but surely he's not going to be so much better that he's the most improved.
But we were stinking last year, so he could have a really, really good season, but
But
someone
he
else be
wasn't
better.
stinking.
Listen, I
But he has
explained
been.
my reasoning for it, and Harry, I really
Aye, and I
don't
disagree.
understand you picking Hoylett. You're criticising me for picking a player that's
Ah,
played at the club for a year now, and you're
Aye.
picking a player that's not even played once for Hibs.
Your most improved player, you've literally just said, has massively regressed.
when he puts it like
So
that.
so he's going to improve.
And you're saying that Junior Hoylett can improve.
I think both of your arguments are heavily flawed, to be honest, but probably equally as flawed based on this discussion.
See, be
Well,
fair, Harry.
you
See if
can
you
what,
put.
Craig? Oh, you shush a sec, Craig. You can what's fair? Me and you. At least we're no captain. You and Liam. Let's sit on the fence for most improved. Fuck off.
Nah, it has been a bit
Hey,
boring there.
But
exactly.
Triantis,
Yeah.
Wait,
I think so.
we
Triantis
picked
came in and had an absolute gravy performance. Talking about no falling in for the hype. He's the most hyped player at the club after
Aye,
Kilmarnock.
but I didn't rate him last season, so that's what
That's
I'm
fair.
based off. I'm going
I
off.
did.
Exactly.
He was excellent.
That's the only thing. Me and Craig didn't pick Triantis because I actually think he's all right. Eh? I thought when he was at centre back he stunk, but I thought when he played at defensive mid he was decent.
He
Put it this
stunk
way,
in
I
the
think
position that he was
we
signed to
floated
play
his name about
in.
a month.
So passive aggressive.
Oh,
Mm.
that was sensational arguing and shouting. I don't know how it'll come across for people with like good headphones in their lugs and stuff. So it might just be a big rabble of noise. But Harry, come on, player of the year. Who you got? Junior Hoylett.
If you're listening, you're on YouTube. Comment below who won Harry against the rest, please. Anyway, player of the year. I've picked him twice, and being honest, I feel it would be a bit stupid. Sorry for having the same player in three categories, but I'm going to have to go for Mr. Bowie. I think he's just going to have. I think what he does outside of his goals, I think is going to be really impressive as well. I think that by the end of the year, we're going to love the fact that we've got a Bowie for the next couple of seasons. He's just a big physical guy that likes to get stuck in, and I think we're all going to love that boy very much. Hopefully, we'll come on to our St Johnstone talks soon, but hopefully he's ready to get up and running and starting games from them because I think that we do have a very good player in our hands here. Sorry, Liam, take us away. How about you?
I'll
Stick him.
just stick with Warren O'Hora because I'm not a shite bag like you who changes almost every single player selection.
But it's because almost every single player selection was Dylan Venti.
Oh dear, Craig. Josh Campbell was your pre-season prediction for Player of the Year. It then led to myself, you, and Harry have an argument about the standard of our midfield, which I think unfortunately Harry might have won. Are you sticking with Josh Campbell?
Unsurprisingly, no. I'm going to be the shite bag, and I'm going to say Kieran Bowie as well. I said to Harry just off the recording, sometimes you need to just hold your hands up and admit you've had a stinker. And I think maybe, although I still back Josh Campbell, I think maybe goes down in the stinker category. I just hope none of these ones that we picked tonight do go in that category as well.
You
Well,
have to say the vibes are good for Bowie. Like he is just like he is the kind of player. He's like quite a sort of maximum effort, kind of charges in, like bull in a china shop,
He's
big
ungainly.
lad. He's Scottish. Like I think the vibes are really good for him for a Player of the Year nomination. But at the end of the day, you only really have to be good during the period at which we nominate the Player of the Year, which is pretty
Yep.
much what Jordan Obita did last year, and Chris Cadden a few years before that. So.
God, Mariah Welsh won the Young Player of the Year last season, and he joined the January. Tells you everything you need to know. Well,
I think Liam's just sorry, and I don't know if I'm teeing you up in the right way or not. I think Liam's spot on with the vibe thing as well. Like I think Chris Cadden had a run of about 5 games leading up to the Player of the Year, and we were like, he was good for the whole season, but he had
He
like a
was.
proper decent run of games
Did
where he
I?
looked class. And by that time, the Chrissy Cadden song had picked up as well, so we were loving him.
Aye.
But yeah,
I always think it's a bit. I do feel for players when you win the Player of the Year and you've played really well in a shite team. I actually do almost feel sympathetic towards the player because you don't really get the opportunity to actually really, I don't think, enjoy that individual accolade. Whereas if you get Player of the Year in a season when we're riding on the crest of the wave and we're good, must be quite a class feeling, eh?
yeah, absolutely. Who won it Who won it under Johnson?
Player of the Year, young
finished
player of the
fifth. Player of the Year. Did Nisbet get it?
That was
I can't
Anglo
remember.
Junio.
No, yeah, you're right. I know. Well, I'm finishing off with a player that hasn't been mentioned yet, and you know, I'm looking at my selections here, and I'm thinking that you might have some observations about signings and most improved and all that, but my player of the year is going to be Kwon. And now the reason that I'm going for Kwon is player of the year, but not signing of the season. I think he's going to come in and do very, very well. But I still think long term, Kieran Bowie's going to be our best signing, permanent deal. I think he's going to have a good season, solid enough. But I think Kwon's going to excel. I think I've got high hopes for Kwon and Chiantis in the middle of the park. Fully on board with that 1-1 draw at Kelly bandwagon. And that'll do me nicely. Young player of the year for Chiantis, player of the year for Kwon. Happy days.
I think that is what we call in the gambling world hedging.
Hedging?
Hmm
How so?
Well,
No consistency in selection, and just hoping one sticks.
nah, it's a bit Claudio Ranieri, isn't it? It's a bit Tinkerman. I don't. I think if you're going to say a guy's signing the season but not player of the year, but then pick a player as a new signing,
Well,
um,
I don't think it would be. I think that the three signings that I've mentioned there, in Triantes, Bowie, and Kwon, I think you've got, regardless of performance, if they all perform well, you've got to give the benefit of the doubt, if you like, to the permanent signing in terms of if you're rating a signing. In the same
okay.
sense that had Harry put Junior Hoylett as signing the season and said that he had such low expectations, but then maybe Hoylett comes in and plays a lot and contributes a lot, then you could make an argument to say that he would be a very good signing. So I think that Bowie will prove long term a very, very good signing for the club. So I think we'll look back on that as a great deal this time next year. I think Kwon, on the other hand, could come in, have an unbelievable year, but then not even be attainable for us next summer, which leaves us with a rather big Kwon-shaped hole to fill.
Just looking at this again, Ewan. Just a couple of questions. One, if we were to finish fourth, are you in agreement? It probably wouldn't be our defence that gets us there.
I don't know what's giving you that idea, Harry. Yes.
So
No,
therefore,
probably.
how do you reckon we'd be scoring quite a lot of goals then?
Aye. Martin Boyle scoring them all.
How many goals has Martin Boyle got to get
I
and not
think we
get
will
Player of the
score.
Year or
No, I
Most
think
Improved? What?
no, I think we'll score quite a lot of goals this season. I hope, but I don't necessarily think one player will. We've got six players, arguably, that could fill the front three positions now. And yeah, I'm being deadly serious. You like, so you've got Bowie and Boyle that can play on the right, Kukarevich through the middle, or Bowie through the middle, Eliu and Junior Hoylett, Rudy. Like, I think there's competition for places in the front end of the pitch. I think we could conceivably score a lot of goals, but no one individual runs away with it. And like I say, Martin Boyle's already got four, so he does have an advantage on people.
I thought that was quite a nice trap question. You answered it well. Well done, Ewan. Cool. Anybody else? Any comments on what we can see here?
I look forward to a grand total of two of these predictions being correct come the end of the season.
And one of them being seventh.
Oh dear.
All right. Well, one thing that we thought we'd do for a bit of fun just before we move on to St Johnstone preview. Obviously, there's still a vast free agency market out there. If we could change our most improved player to unlimited budget, anybody you want to bring in, you can do. What player are you bringing in? I'll kick off. I believe, unless he's been signed in the last week or so, that Mario Balotelli is still a free agent, and I just think that'd be hilarious. So if I had my money, I'd be sticking it on Mario and get him up top because it'd be a good laugh. Why not?
So we are going like totally out of the realms of possibility here, eh?
If it depends on what you can see, because I can't think of anybody that within reason, I would potentially shout as most like our signing of the season if we were to sign him now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Please don't come to me because I forgot we were doing this.
No, so did I.
Liam, have you got anybody in mind?
Oh, lads, come on! I was looking for a quick. I was hoping these were going to buy me a bit of time for
Man,
a
this
quick
was your
Google
idea.
search.
Oh,
I
for
know. I
God's
didn't have any.
sake.
I didn't have any players lined up though.
Oh.
No, I genuinely don't have a better suggestion than one that I came up with a couple of years ago in one of our transfer specials. I think I still need a centre forward. We need someone with experience. We need someone who's capable of holding the ball up, bringing others into the game. None other than former Italy striker Mattia Destro. Get him in. I think
Are
he's
you
still
sure he's
available.
not retired?
He might have, but I think we could tempt him out of retirement. He just finished up with Empoli last season. His recent goal record's not the best. He played 15 games in Serie A last season and didn't score. But let's be honest, He's got a proven track record knowing where the goal is, and I still think he's the man for us. Matteo Destro.
Ken, what I think we could do it. Mind when we signed Frank Jajeji and then he just had the pure class YouTube reels, like scoring overhead kicks and that in the Champions League. I think we should
Yeah.
just get another player that's just a YouTube reel and just be excited that we've got them. Craig, did you find anybody on your
I
quick?
feel like I've got a good one. It is unrealistic. He's 28 years of age. He's currently without a club. Absolute baller. I think he'd fit in well. Dele Alli. Attacking
Oh,
midfield. He's going to fill that hole that we all want. He's going to be Luke McCowan, part two. Dele Alli, that's the best shout. End of.
That's definitely a Saudi Arabia job. He's definitely going to end up in the Saudi Pro League.
Getting
Definitely.
300 grand a week for kicking a ball twice a year.
Aye, perfect.
unreal. Ewan, any last gasp throws to you?
There's actually one that I seen and I thought, oh, actually, that would just be a good signing. It's not a fantasy unbelievable one, but Paul Dummett, that was at Newcastle, was it St Mirren? Actually, would that be a fairly solid defensive signing? I know it's not
Yeah,
exactly living on
45
the
man.
wild side and signing Mario Balotelli or anything like that, but
What do you want for your dinner tonight? You can choose anything in the world. Choose anything in the world. I have fish fingers, spaghetti hoops, and oven chips.
and a more prominent one that maybe our younger listeners might enjoy that played Ultimate Team maybe I don't know 4 or 5 years ago. Ben Yedder is a free agent currently, and now this was this I
He
wasn't
was a
playing the
cheat
game at
code,
this
him.
point, but I believe he was like the one player to have, and he is currently a free agent, I believe so. Go and get him, Hibs. Go and splash the cash. Get the Black Knights to get the checkbook out.
No, they fucking owe us one at this point. Eh? I'm sick of not getting their money. Give us Balotelli and Ben Yedder, and you'll say thank you. But aye, back to reality. We are hosting St Johnstone this weekend at Easter Road, who seem to have had quite an up and down start to the season, and they have a trophyless bastard in the dugout. Craig, in terms of the team lineup, are you expecting anything fresh?
I expect Bowie to start. I think it's surely got to be the time for him to be starting games. So did he not start a game for the 21s for Scotland or something? Maybe during the week.
Oh, they played on
Or he was
Friday. I'll
certainly
check.
he was
He
maybe
did.
in the
He
squad.
played. He did play.
So I know he sort of intimated in one of his post-match interviews a couple of weeks ago that he was looking to get starts fairly shortly. And he also said that he'd be looking to move through the middle as well, like he said that himself. So hopefully I'd like to see two up top. I don't know if it fits in with our shape, but certainly I'd like to see him starting uh, on the right hand side, probably.
Played
Maybe in
through the
between
middle for
place to Boyle.
Scotland.
Fairly certain they're playing tonight or tomorrow night as well. Got another game, so there's a chance we get more
Tomorrow,
minutes.
5:30.
So yeah, no, that would be my main change into the team would be getting him starting.
And Liam, is there anything about St Johnstone that the fans should be wary of that you've seen so far this season?
I would say that they seem to be going sort of 3-5-2 with two very quick players, or quick and potentially tricky players, and that sort of two up top with Kimpioka and
Sidibe.
Sidibe, thank you. So, I think they'll be very much,
Suspended
to
though.
use new football terminology. Oh, Sidibe suspended. That's good news for us, to be fair. Is the boy Sanders suspended as well? Because he got sent off
Will be, aye.
against Dundee United. So they'll be missing a couple of key players. So, aye. I mean, they'll play a 3-5-2. It'll be low block. They'll knock it long every single time. It'll be exactly the same way that they set up against us in the two games at Easter Road last season, to be honest. And there'll be a lot of onus on us just to find a way to break them down, which could either go really well for us if we get a goal early, or it could be quite a long afternoon if we don't score early. I think that's
Mhm.
just exactly how these games pan out. If you can get a goal in the first 10, 15 minutes against them, I think you make it a whole lot easier for yourselves.
I
Can I
believe
just jump in on that?
yeah, go
Sorry,
for
I
it.
was I was just going to say I don't know if any of you guys watched the game against Rangers at St Johnstone at Hampden. I
They were
was actually
decent.
really impressed with their football.
Yeah,
Like not they weren't just knocking it along, like they're playing good football.
they were decent.
Uh, and I think that's maybe just something to watch out for. The boy, what was his name? Sorry, is it Kimpioka?
Yeah,
He looked a good player, really athletic.
Mhm.
he was jobbies for them last season as well, but I think he's come back and been a lot better this season. I don't know. Maybe it's just the want. But I heard Craig Levein talking on the radio and he's saying he's got 5 centre forwards at the club and he plans to use them and all this sort of stuff. I still look at them and I still think they majorly have the vibes of a team that's going to go down.
Mhm.
Like just the fact they signed a boy on loan for Notts County and then made him captain. I don't know. That's just got relegation vibes for me all about it.
Is Uche fit?
I don't think. I'll check if he's been in their squad, but
I fucking hope not, to be honest.
As in
Yes,
Uche
he's got.
Ekpiazu.
Aye,
Oh,
that's
Jesus.
goal written all over it.
Oh no. Is he the type of striker that
he's not been in their
Horror
squad.
Ekpiteta would struggle with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like he would just absolutely bully them, to be honest. I
I
thought
think
against
a big
Kilmarnock,
Ekpiteta
O'Hora
I
was
think would
looking
do.
struggling with the physical side. Not maybe not Ekpiteta, but I thought O'Hora looked like he was struggling a wee bit.
Well,
Get
anyway,
big
he's not
Rocky
been
or
in their
Rocky,
last two
Rocky will
squads.
pocket him.
Rucci's only 29 and his list of clubs on Wikipedia is absolutely outstanding. He'll be one of those guys that when he's actually called it a day and he's finished his career, his Wikipedia clubs list will be like 3 pages long. You can just tell he'll do like
Guess
6
the
months
career
here,
path.
6 months there. Be a belter.
Aye.
Aye.
And Ewan, what are you wanting to see? Obviously, we've just had the international break to hopefully get the team on the same page. What is there any differences from what we've seen so far this season you're hoping for in this game? Obviously, 3 points on the board.
Aye, no, yeah, no goals, mate. I know that like a lot, or not even necessarily goals, but like, a lot of chances created, and just like a performance that you sort of come away from feeling quite happy. Like not even sometimes like you win a game or that, but it's about a grind or that. See, just like an enjoyable afternoon where maybe you win by a couple of goals, and you score in the first half, you score in the second half. Happy days. You know what I mean? Like just a comfortable win that would maybe just kickstart the season. You've had this international break to sort of regroup, get new players bedded in and stuff. And I do think a win would go a long, long way on Saturday. If I said that at the Kilmarnock game as well, but I do think on the back of the transfer window and everyone's probably had a little bit of time to just calm down a wee bit, maybe over the
Mm.
international break as well. Like, I think if we could just get 3 points under our belt, other teams have started slowly as well. We can sort of get ourselves into the season, and that would be the one thing for me. I just want to come away from a game maybe where we scored a couple of goals, thinking we could have scored more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Can I just say, can you
Indeed.
imagine how anxious Easter Road will be if we've got a 1 goal lead with like 10, 15 minutes to go?
Oh, I know.
Can you imagine the
No.
anxiety within that stadium? Like it's basically worth a goal for them. How bad it'll be,
Absolutely.
just how things have been.
And I would hope though, Liam, that like the manager would be aware of that. After the last two games, like, and he has played at Easter Road, and he knows what it can be like. And whether you want to say it's a mentality thing throughout the club or the fan base or whatever, but see if you are 2 goals up, just go and try and get that third goal. If you are 1 goal up, go and try and get a second goal instead of fanning a not no sorry not fanning about, but instead of bringing Rocky on with 10 minutes to go. And it's not a criticism of Rocky, but like just try and keep playing till the last minute and try and win the game by as many goals as possible. Ultimately, Harry, I know that's the fundamentals of football and all that, but just coming away from the game happy, comfortable, no feeling like you've just done 90 minutes yourself. You know what I mean?
And it's one of those ones as well. I don't know. I don't actually know where you guys stand on 6 pointers, but in terms of like the swing, not one for Liam, but in terms of the swing of momentum this
Not a
gives
thing.
you, I think that what do you call it? Like 5 points sounds obviously just sounds so much better than 2 points. I think going into a game against Rangers
You're
at
right, it
Ibrox,
does,
well
aye.
at Hampden, I think that, and I'm not even saying it's League Cup weekend next weekend, so we've not actually got a game next weekend, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
there's a week break before
Aye.
the next one. Yeah,
Um,
not sure why, but
I'm sorry, I've just ruined Liam's week.
Fuck's sake, man.
But I pish. The thing is, for me, just going into that again
You're
when
right,
you've
Harry.
got a lull, like it's just so important to actually pick up these points. And St Johnstone on the front of it is the first team we've not played. Is the first team we've played, sorry, that wasn't top six last season. So it's the first team that, in theory, there's literally no excuses for. We are substantially better than St Johnstone, and that is why my prediction is going to be 3-0 to the Cabbage. Ewan, what are you thinking?
I was going to go for the same actually. I feel like 3-0 fits my request nicely, so I will just stick with that. And by the way, I don't like the term 6 pointers, but Hibs really, really do need to win this game because you can't be going to Rangers after 5 games when they win, and then it really does start to snowball. Like we need to win this game. But yeah, and I think we will. I hope that my request is granted.
Liam, I'm sorry for ruining your week there. I didn't intend on doing so.
Fucking
But
season's just started. We've had 2 weekends already. We've not had a game. Fucking pish. There'll be an
pish
international
indeed.
break round the corner before you know it and all. I think it'll be 2-0 Hibs, and I think we need to win both our next two home games, to be honest. I think we need to beat Motherwell, which is, what, 3-4 weeks away now. But I
Liam, I
think
don't want to disappoint you, but after the Motherwell game, there's another break.
His face, man.
honestly,
I'm so sorry, but I just felt like I needed to tell you
it's just,
I was going to tell him next week, so you
season's
didn't need
just
to do that
started,
though.
man.
It's ridiculous. Craig, please say we're keeping the
that.
positive
Liam's not even
vibes
give a
going.
score yet, I think.
It did.
2-0.
Nah,
He
it's
said
Sorry,
2-0.
Liam.
He said
Sorry,
2-0.
buddy.
You non-listening. Sorry. Craig.
No, I'm just going same. I'm going 2-0 as well. I was going to say that before Liam, but no, I'll stick with 2-0. I think it'll be a sort of fairly edgy 1-0, and then we'll get the second goal sort of maybe in the last 10 minutes, and then it'll take the pressure off.
Well,
There you go.
Craig Levine, we are coming for you. That's definitely why
Yeah.
Clapton fucking fight us. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure as always. We discussed Ian Gordon chatting to the media. We discussed our ridiculous predictions and probably gave you even more ridiculous predictions. And we're hopefully going to pump St Johnstone. And we'll catch you on Monday. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.